Hi, and welcome to episode 14 of my series about the Pyara region, a fakemon region inspired by Pakistan. As promised, this episode is going to be about legendaries. But first, here are some Pokemon that definitely don't have anything to do with the box legendaries, but wouldn't fit anywhere else. Here's just a completely normal, average Pokemon. It's the rock ground Rokuji. It's based on a geode and a sea slug. It's just a little guy. It evolves into, again, a totally bog-standard, run-of-the-mill Pokemon, Kirakuji. It changes from a slug to a snail when it evolves, with its original rock body becoming a shell. The geode influence is a little more apparent with this evolution, with its body now sporting crystalline growth. Anyway, now those normies are out of the way, let's get to the real reason you're here, the box legendaries. So when I was first working on the Pyara region, one of the first things I knew I wanted to do was a space theme for the legendaries, which for some reason that escapes me, I thought would be a good fit for a story about friendship and unity. With these themes in mind, the motif of planets stuck out to me. Each celestial body is its own unique thing, but they also exist in wider solar systems affected by each other's gravitational pulls. That feels like an apt metaphor, and perfect for a pair of legendaries. So here they are, the mascot for Pokemon Terra, the grass ground Kogaya, and for Pokemon Cosmos, the rock psychic Gingame. Kogaya is based on the scarab beetle and its famous tendency to roll balls of poop, but instead of a ball of dung, it's a globe, with its own teeny tiny ecosystem. In Egyptian mythology, the scarab-faced god Khepri was said to roll the sun along the sky as a scarab rolls dung balls along the ground, representing creation and the renewal of life, and Kogaya similarly has power over nature, acting as an agent of natural balance in Pyara. Kogaya balancing the ball on its head is also an allusion to Atlas, the titan who holds up the earth in Greek mythology, and its horns are based on the Atlas beetle. Lot of moving parts to this one. Its name comes from Kogane Mushi, the Japanese word for scarab, which includes Kogane, the Japanese word for gold, and Gaia, the Greek personification of the earth. Gingame is based on a common myth theme of the world turtle, the idea of a turtle carrying or containing the world, that appears in Hindu, Chinese, and Native American mythology, as well as in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. These world turtles all represent a maintenance of balance and stability, and much like its mythological inspirations and its counterpart Kogaya, Gingame also represents balance, this time of extraterrestrial space. Of course, in our universe, space is largely barren, as far as we know, but the world of Pokemon is home to all sorts of alien life, and Gingame is said to maintain order in this unique ecosystem. Its name comes from Ginga, the Japanese word for galaxy, Gin, the Japanese word for silver, and Kame, the Japanese word for turtle. So there are the legendaries and their inspirations, but where do they fit in the story of the Pyara region? Well, let's look at how legendaries have been integrated into the narratives of previous games. In Gen 1, the legendaries were entirely optional and out of the way, acting as a reward for progressing in the game and going out of your way to explore. Gen 2 started the trend of box legendaries, making these cool animals part of the draw of the games, and this time the legendaries had mythologies that you learn as you progress through the game, but were similarly not part of the main story, again acting as a reward for playing through the game. Gens 3, 4, 5, and 6 had the box legendaries as a central focal point of the story, with the villain teams attempting to use their powers in their schemes for world domination. The most interesting version of this is the original black and white games, where instead of a power the legendaries physically have, Ghetsis tries to use the cultural sway that a particular legend has over the people of Unova as part of his plans. Gen 7 had the iconic Nebby, making the box legendary a constant presence throughout the story and integrating it directly into the arc of the best character in the game, tying the Pokemon to the core themes of the piece as a representation of Lily's character growth. Gen 8 had a similar approach to Gen 2, where discovering the legend behind the legendaries was a part of the story but not the part of the story. But this time the legendaries also lend a hand in the final battle of the main story. Finally, Gen 9 also integrated the legendaries directly into the arcs of its main cast, as well as making it a constant presence for the player as a bike that's also your mate, which the player helps grow and develop as both a character and a means of navigating the world. For my first Fakemon region, or mate, I had the box legendaries Kumatum and Tokatetsu play a similar role to Reshiram and Zekrom in the original black and white games, with the villains attempting to use their cultural significance to the Ormatian people as symbols of tradition and progress respectively to further their plans for the region. With Kogaya and Gingame, I wanted to try a more direct narrative integration a la Gen 7 and 9, but I also didn't want to just repeat those stories. With this in mind, I thought it'd be fun to have the arcs of these legendaries intersect with the themes of the piece, but in a way that directly challenges these themes instead. This isn't to say that they'll be evil or anything, just antagonistic in a way that creates interesting obstacles for the player and encourages the narrative to delve deeper into its core ideals. If the thesis of Pokemon Terra and Cosmos is, we're better together, Kogaya and Kingami will say, oh yeah? Prove it. They wouldn't cause trouble for the player out of malice. Rather, they'd just be annoyed at the ways that humans, particularly the evil team, have disrupted the natural balance, acting out in an attempt to restore that balance by any means possible. It'll be up to the player to figure out what these powerful Pokemon are so mad about, and show the strength of their convictions in the process. That's all for this episode. I've got a couple of questions for today's episode, seeing as it's a big one. How do you prefer legendaries to be used in the stories of Pokemon games? And when you catch a legendary, do you use it on your in-game team? Let me know if you'd add any of the Pokemon featured in this video to your Pyara region team too. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time, where we'll see some more legendaries. Bomb! Hey everyone, this is Umar. I just wrapped up editing this episode. This was the first one I'd done in a while. The previous episodes were all recorded in July, so I had a bit of a backlog to work from. And when I recorded those episodes, I didn't really have many ambitions beyond just, this being a novel way of me to show off my character designs for my friends. And it still pretty much is that, but it does mean a lot to me that people have checked in every couple of weeks, left comments, and answered the questions of the day, talked about which designs they like, and I've made some cool new friends from setting up this YouTube account, which genuinely never would have thought would have happened. So I want to say a big thank you, Happy New Year, and yeah. Oh, and I did do a lot of really stupid vocal flubs in this episode, if anyone was wondering. For some reason, the phrase just a little guy, that really tripped me up. I don't know why. But yeah, I can say things like Leucochloridium without any problem, but apparently he's a little guy is my mouth just doesn't work with that.